Welcome back. The National Council on Public Transportation, NCOPT, held discussions with Transport Minister Guy Joseph on Thursday. The council says it is settled. Minibus operators will receive the much-anticipated fuel rebate within the coming weeks. Jacques Wooding reports.
Following what he described as a tense meeting, Public Relations Officer of the National Council on Public Transport, Dominic Lesmond, says drivers can breathe a sigh of relief. This comes with confirmation from Minister for Transport Guy Joseph that rebate monies will be released to drivers within the next 10 days. Lesmond believes that this development has come at a dire time for the public transport sector.
The minister came to confirm some of the promises that was made by him and the Prime Minister about 2 weeks ago about the rebate, the $1.1 million. He assured us that that money will be paid sometime next week, by next weekend. On the exemptions of the route permit, the $700 exemptions that's already in place, members could now take advantage of that. Also the duty free on the vehicles, 100% on the new, that's import duty and excise tax, and 60% of the same on used vehicles.
Lesmond says the NCOPT is due to meet with the Transport Ministry again in 2 weeks, where amongst other issues, the NCOPT will pursue the option of full passenger capacity. He says as for now, the Ministry of Transport has expressed that full capacity is not under consideration.
There were some disagreements when it comes to the full passenger load. Mr. Ragunanan was in attendance and he gave the Ministry of Health position on that issue. Because of a few community spread that have happened lately, we want to take precaution again for another couple of weeks to see how it's going to turn out. So if we get a positive report on the community spread, then we have a case for the full capacity.
He says the NCOPT urges drivers to continue to strictly follow the transport protocols provided by the ministry until further notice. Jacques Wooding, Hot 7 News.
The National Youth Council is clearing the air regarding rumored political interference in the organization. Recently, there were accusations that the NYC facilitated a campaign activity for an SLP candidate under the guise of a Black Lives Matter St. Lucia conference. Now there is concern from the opposition side about a recent donation to the NYC from Prime Minister Allen Chastanet. The NYC's PRO says while the organization encourages participation in the electoral process, it remains impartial. The NYC further clarified that the Youth Voter Program will focus on encouraging young people to vote and will in no way seek to sway their votes.
The St. Lucia National Youth Council has been under fire by supporters of both the island's leading political parties, following publicized interactions between council members and representatives of either party. Most recently, the NYC was the recipient of a sizable donation from Prime Minister Allen Chastanet in support of their Office Uplift program, an action which did not sit well with supporters of the opposition, who believe that this was an attempt by the government to buy the support of the council. NYC Public Relations Officer Edison Lane addressed the rumors, underscoring that the council is apolitical, further noting that the Prime Minister's donation had been the fruit of a 2019 discussion.
As for the Prime Minister's specific donation to, of course, Office Uplift, the creation of safe spaces within the NYC structure, it comes off the commitment made at our initial meeting with the Prime Minister last year. So this is something that had already been agreed to and is simply just a follow-up at this point. But we of course see the need, we certainly see the need for the investment in safe spaces, and I don't think that it should even be made by a political divide, that we should all as a society know that this is something which we need to push.
Lane went on to address concerns surrounding the NYC's youth voter education campaign, saying that the aim of the project is to encourage young people to come out to the polls and to do so in a proper manner. He says there will be no underlying political agendas, but instead, voters will be left to make their own observations from a better educated standpoint.
Even within voter education, we would want young people to know what to look for. We would want young people to be interested in each party's or each government's plan, each party's plan for youth development. And that would be our key concern. That would really be our key concern, as opposed to a partisanship and so on. We are autonomous, and we don't hold any partisan favor, any favor to any party. But we certainly seek the interest of young people, that they be aware, that they be informed, that they know what to look for when choosing their candidates, that they no longer vote in, of course, without the requisite information. So it's really an attempt for us to educate young voters so that they are aware of the protocols so as to minimize spoiled ballots. But they are also just as interested in the plans for youth development.
Lane says the NYC is an entity whose operations remain vital throughout the tenure of any government. He says the NYC must avoid political affiliations. Jacques Wooding, Hot 7 News.
The Catholic Church is showing its solidarity with Rastafarian youth following a court ruling in Jamaica which determined that a school was within its rights to demand that a young girl cut her dreadlocks to attend the primary school. Monsignor Michel Francis stated that a child's hair should not deprive him or her of the right to an education.
While the two faiths and lifestyles may have their distinct differences, the Catholic faith is showing solidarity with the Rastafarian community following a court ruling in Jamaica. The court ruled that a school was within its rights to demand that a girl cut her dreadlocks in order to attend classes. The ruling was the final judgment of a 2-year battle after the girl, who was then 5 years old, was told that she must cut her dreadlocks for hygiene purposes in order to be permitted to study at the Kensington Primary School. Parish priest for Grosile, Monsignor Michel Francis, says the outcome of the ruling is disheartening. He believes that no child should be deprived of their fundamental right to an education for any reason.
Education is not a privilege for us in this country. Education is a right for every child.
He explained that once someone shows an interest in bettering themselves, they should be allowed an avenue to do so, and believes that St. Lucia has taken the right approach by asking Rastafarian students to cover their hair.
Education is not a privilege for anyone. In our country, education is not a privilege, it's a right. And so it is years now, especially when the children of Rastafarians who wanted their children educated and go to not just public schools like government schools, but even denominational schools like the Catholics, the Methodists, the Anglican. You know, these are the Seventh-day Adventists have schools as well. Once these children began coming to our schools, what we required was a hair covering. But there was no discrimination against them.
But many argue that the requirement for Rastafarian children to have their head covered in a warm Caribbean climate is itself discriminatory, as other ethnic groups like Caucasians or Indians who grow their hair out are not required to cover their hair to attend school. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Gonzague.
You're watching the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Stay with us. There's more news coming up after the break.